Now, here's the interesting thing. We need to meet all the needs, not just physical needs, okay? All the needs. But here's the problem there. There's so many changes, displacement, create a problem for people. No, nowadays, there are more people suffering from mental illness than in the 50s. It's a good old age, the 50s and the 60s, right? In the early part of 60s. But now there's so many changes going on. And people feel displaced. They lost their community, lost their home. Home in the family, family breaking up. And they don't know where to fit in. Everybody moved to the urban area. They don't have a neighborhood. So the many things happening. It disrupts the psychological life. Okay. Now here's the part. Often, when people have money, they don't move up to self-actualization. They get stuck. They get stuck in somewhere. Some people married a fifth wife, a sixth wife. Some people keep spending money on making money. Some people spend money on alcohol. So they do not automatically move up. And Maslow, in his old age, he was very disappointed. You know why? He discovered many professors in elite universities are really selfish bums. Mean and selfish, nasty. They're supposed to be, they have self-esteem, they have success. They're supposed to be actualized, humane, compassionate, kind, but they're not. So he's wondering why so few people are actualized. Okay? So I'm saying that they need to examine their priorities. They need to reflect on their lives to find what the true meaning of life. Okay? So any question about that? Next slide. Yes. Oh, yes, Dennis.
You said moving towards higher levels of personal development is not automatic. I totally agree with you. But do you think there's a thrust, an innate thrust to move towards higher levels of development that gets thwarted or blocked?
Okay. I believe that we are all created in the image of God. And I believe with Roger, with Maslow, with Frankl, that within us, there's always a yearning to be good, a yearning to be better than we are. There's always a yearning for self-improvement. But there is an opposing, the dark side of our nature, with more and more on material things, jealousy, greediness, unforgiving spirit. There's all the dark side. But see, we are good and bad, good and evil within us. This is the both powers. So often we're not able to move forward, move outward, because when the dark side prevails, the dark side is always there. So in counseling, we're trying to help people how to live with the dark side, right? So now, I've gone through cancer operation, I'm facing death. So I said, well, learn how to dance with death, not run away from death. If you have chronic pain, you have to learn how to make friends with your pain, with the grief, rather than trying to run away from it, right? So it's not automatic, right? Going downhill is automatic. Going downhill. But going uphill, the Chinese saying, right? You pedal the boat against the curve and it's more difficult than going downhill. Going downhill is no effort, right? Is that Korean saying like that too? It's just no effort. But most people are going to choose the, downstream. Okay, yes.
In Maslow's later writings, he admitted that
See?
Say it again.
I think in Maslow's later writings, he admitted that the hierarchy should actually be 6. Self-transcendence.
Yeah. Transcendence, yeah.
Very big experiences come from that and
Yeah,
not just self-actualization.
Yeah.
Which is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
So Maslow eventually invented another dimension called self-transcendence, and he developed transpersonal psychology, which my friend Jeff knows a lot. Okay? So we have to get beyond ourselves in order to combat the selfishness within us. In other words, to really move forward, you have to find a way to move beyond self-interest to something bigger and higher than yourself. Can be God, can be nature, can be humanity. Has to be go beyond yourself. That idea, all right? Okay, thank you very much. Next slide. Now, I'm I'm now summarizing Maslow's hierarchy. I say, well, if you look at all the needs that Maslow listed, you may be able to reduce to 7 basic needs. Okay? You may be able to reduce to 7 basic needs. On top of the list is meaning. Well, you can bump it to 7, doesn't matter. I don't care. Okay? I just did my preference. Okay? I list 7 things there. The first is need for meaning. You know why? Because so many people, whether they're poor or rich, young or old, always complain about life being boring. There's a lack of content in their lives. There's emptiness in their lives. And this is one of the 4 existential anxieties, Yalom, meaninglessness. You every day you go through eating, go to washroom, and you go shopping. I saw rich people playing mahjong, shopping. That's no life. Their life is totally barren, shallow, and empty, and lack of joy, devoid of joy. So the second part is virtue. Now, people don't like to talk about virtue. You're going to talk about, Aristotle talk about virtue a lot, Aristotle. Now, positive psychology, like Peterson and Silverman have a book on virtue and character strength. They talk about virtue, but mainly they talk about character strength. Okay. So basically, virtue has to do with knowing right and wrong, have a sense of responsibility, meaning have the practical wisdom to know what's good for you, what's good for your parents, what's good for humanity. You need some good common sense. Drug is not good for you. It destroys your brain. Right, Jeff? Drug's bad for you, right? Now, he's an expert. The drug addict know that the drugs are bad for them. But somehow, the high somehow is more attractive than the virtue means you do things, you lead a life that's good for you, good for your children, good for your family, good for community. Not that make you happy. That's the wrong way of thinking. What makes you happy can kill you. You don't believe me? Ask Jeff. What makes you happy can kill you. Honestly. But what's virtuous make you happy? You feel good from doing good. You feel good for being good. Goodness, happiness, joy flow from you, a core center of being a good person. I sound like evangelist. You need to be born again. You need to acquire new nature. You need to cultivate the goodness in you. That is the source of joy. right? So I'm a preacher now, eh? Resilience. Do you want to see an example of resilience? Mira Kim. He is Tai Chong Gum. Do you know Tai Chong Gum? The famous Korean woman hero. She got through so many trials and hardships. All the guys came up against the little woman, okay? But she prevailed over all of them. She triumphed, became the most famous doctor in Korea. Da Chang Gum. She is a modern Da Chang Gum. I mean, when she first came to Trinity to study with me, she didn't speak much English, and she had problem. But she overcome all the difficulties. Resilience. She's able to. She now had one PhD. She's working on another PhD. She's director of clinical school, counseling school, and a clinic. Oh, she overcome all difficulties and obstacles. The good life. You must have to be resilient. You have to be mental toughness is more important than physical toughness. So part of resilience is having purpose. If you have a strong purpose, you're able to overcome difficulties to get there, right? Even no purpose, oh, what's the point? I'm going to die anyway. Why do I struggle, right? I'm going to die tomorrow. Let's drink and be merry. Tomorrow I die. No resilience, right? That's why the meaning comes first. Virtue also comes with meaning. Part of meaning is doing the right thing, right?